The witchcraft of monotheism, a spell of division and control. Monotheism, as embodied by the big three religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, has long been a cornerstone of human civilization, shaping cultures, laws, and worldviews. Yet beneath the surface of their sacred rituals, prayers, and songs lies a darker accusation: that these practices are a form of witchcraft, a massive spell cast to siphon the life force of their congregations and perpetuate division, guilt, and control. This article explores the rituals of monotheism, their alleged occult underpinnings, and the societal consequences of their influence as seen through a critical lens. Rituals as spellcraft, the mechanics of monotheistic magic. At the heart of monotheistic worship are rituals that, to a skeptic, resemble the workings of witchcraft cloaked in divine reverence. Consider the act of prayer, where bowed heads and fervent whispers channel collective energy toward a singular deity. In churches, mosques, and synagogues, congregants unite in chants and hymns, rhythmic, repetitive, and hypnotic. These songs, from Gregorian chants to Quranic recitations, create a trance-like state, aligning the faithful in a shared frequency. Critics might argue this is not worship, but a form of mass enchantment, harvesting emotional and spiritual energy to fuel an unseen agenda. Baptism, a hallmark of Christian practice, is another ritual ripe for reinterpretation. The submersion in water, the invocation of divine names, and the symbolic rebirth could be seen as an initiation rite, binding the individual to the Church's metaphysical framework. In occult terms, this act might imprint a spiritual mark, tethering the baptized to the institution's will. Similarly, the Jewish Brit Milah, or Islamic Adhan whispered into a newborn's ear, could be viewed as early spell work, embedding lifelong allegiance. These rituals, performed en masse, amplify their potency. A congregation's collective focus, whether in a cathedral's pews or during Ramadan's Taraweeh prayers, generates a psychic current. If one accepts the premise of witchcraft, this energy could be harvested by religious hierarchies, redirected to maintain power structures or cast spells of control over the planet. The question becomes, who or what benefits from this outpouring of devotion? The spell of division, monotheism's fractured legacy. The big three monotheistic faiths, despite their shared Abrahamic roots, have fostered centuries of animosity. Christianity's crusades, Islam's jihads, and Judaism's historical struggles reflect a legacy of mutual distrust. This divisiveness, some argue, is no accident but a deliberate outcome of monotheism's spellcraft. By pitting believers against one another, religious institutions maintain relevance and authority, ensuring their survival through conflict. The hatred between these groups is not merely theological, but visceral, embedded in cultural narratives and historical grievances. Christians and Muslims clashed during the medieval era and continue to eye each other warily in modern geopolitics. Anti-Semitism has plagued Jewish communities for millennia, often fueled by Christian and Islamic rhetoric. These tensions manifest in wars, terrorism, and social strife, draining humanity's collective vitality. If this is witchcraft, it is a masterful spell, keeping humanity fragmented and powerless to unite against systemic oppression. The fruits of the spell: starvation, illness, and war. The consequences of monotheism's alleged sorcery are stark. Starvation persists in regions where religious dogma stifles progress or justifies inequality. Illness festers where faith-based restrictions hinder medical advancements or promote shame around bodily autonomy. War, often cloaked in holy rhetoric, rages on. Consider the Israeli-Palestinian conflict or the sectarian violence between Sunni and Shia Muslims. These tragedies, critics argue, are not divine will, but the byproduct of a spell designed to keep humanity in chaos. Bigotry and hatred, too, flourish under monotheism's shadow. The condemnation of sinners, the ostracism of non-believers, and the rigid moral codes enforced by religious authorities breed guilt and shame. Congregants are taught to fear their own desires, to judge their neighbors, and to seek redemption through submission. This psychological manipulation, akin to a hex, keeps individuals subdued, their life force dimmed by self-loathing and division. At the heart of our societal dilemmas lies a profound truth. Humanity is steeped in a unique potential for transformation. This power, a collective force held within each individual, is often suppressed by monotheistic institutions. These structures are designed not merely as pathways to moral guidance, but as systems that tether the spirit, suffocating creativity with a blanket of guilt and shame. Through carefully crafted narratives, these institutions fragment human connection, fostering distrust among congregants, while diverting them from their true capabilities. Reality is twisted, encouraging individuals to embrace divisions instead of unity, thereby stalling the very evolution that could illuminate the path to a just and equitable society. The rituals of worship within churches, mosques, and synagogues, once thought to be conduits of divine connection, may instead act like chains, binding followers with an invisible weight. The act of bowing one's head in reverence transforms into an omen of subservience, silencing the inner voice that yearns for liberation. Each fervent prayer, meant to soothe the soul, becomes part of a grand occult working that maintains a firm hold on the populace. The echoes of solemn songs resonate through sacred halls, not as calls to unity, but as reminders of humanity's latent subjugation, reinforcing a narrative that restricts potential rather than expanding it. To perceive monotheism through this lens is to ignite a spark of rebellion against accepted doctrines. If one views these institutions as instruments of control, the question arises, how can humanity reclaim its power? Liberation begins with awareness, unveiling the ways in which guilt and division have been used as tools of oppression. The beauty of communal rituals should not mask their often divisive undercurrents. As long as humanity dwells within the confines of dogma, it remains mired in a cycle of sorrow and conflict. This reality compels a critical examination of the very foundations upon which these systems exist. Ultimately, the antidote to this spell of subjugation is found in collective awakening. By casting aside the shackles of guilt and embracing a spirit of unity, humanity can break free from the clutches of oppression. Forging connections grounded in empathy and understanding enables a reimagining of the future, one devoid of the chains that have long been utilized to bind the spirit. It is only by recognizing and unleashing this intrinsic power that we can step out from the shadows of control, reclaim our shared purpose, and build a world that nurtures rather than stifles. By Scott Young, aka Synfamous Gamer,